Alright, so we're in here for part 2 of our discussion of the Holocaust and why it happened. So we've already covered why the Jews. So we know that we have that built-up animosity, that distrust, basically springing from the claims of deicide and just developing over the medieval ages with claims of well poisoning and blood libel. And this gets the German people kind of predisposed to not necessarily trust the Jewish people. Nobody is saying that this is right or it's proper, but it's what's happening. So we need to take a look at why they are predisposed to believing Hitler when Hitler says that the Jews are the problem with Germany. Because again, they only make up about 3% of the population of Germany. So how can 3% of the people make such much a problem for Germany? People aren't asking those questions because they're already like, oh yeah, my grandfather didn't. Yeah, my grandfather told me this and this and this. So, all right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on why Germany. All right. So the biggest thing about why Germany, it doesn't go all the way back to it doesn't go all the way back to the medieval ages. Why Germany really comes about in World War I, and it has to do with how World War I ended. World War I ends very suddenly for the German army. A lot of places on that front line, they have not been pushed back. Right? They have not lost in their mind because they have the French and the Americans and the British haven't pushed them out of their trenches. They have in some small parts of the line, but this is a long trench system. So some of the Germans in the northern part of the war, they were there where they were in the same trenches that they had been in the first part of the war. How can you tell them that they've lost the war? Right? So the way World War I ends in Germany, you have that revolt of the Navy who are about to be sent into this basically a suicide mission, and then that spreads to the people back home, and the people are going to push, mainly because the economy has been destroyed. There's not enough food's going to the soldiers while they're starving. They're going to be pushing for the Kaiser to step down. They depose the Kaiser, they take control of Germany, make it into a republic, and their first act is end war. German soldiers are going to feel betrayed. Somebody turned the people against them, made them push Kaiser out, and then are going to end the war prematurely. And the effects of the Treaty of Versailles are going to be massively bad for Germany. So it's kind of playing blame game now, right? Why did we lose World War I? Who didn't do what they were supposed to do? And if they find out who it was, they're definitely going to try to punish them. So these are the effects of the Treaty of Versailles on Germany now that they have lost World War I. Their colonies, all those African colonies, gone, given to the British or the French. She's got to reduce 80% of her pre-war fleet. So all those U-boats, all those battleships have to be scrapped, turned back into metal. She's going to lose about half of her iron production, a good portion of her coal production. So the big thing with Germany is that the things to make it a industrialized nation have been taken away from Germany. And this is the idea that the rest of Europe is trying to make Germany an agricultural country again. Agricultural countries don't fight wars, especially 20th century wars. You've got to have weapons produced in factories. If you don't have factories and don't have the ability to produce those things, you can't have a war machine. The other things about Germany after World War I is that all these areas are going to be taken from Germany and given to either other countries or made independent. So the tale of the end of World War I for Germany is complete and utter humiliation, and the economy is going to start to spiral out of control. You also have those reparations, and the reparations are going to have impact as well. Because what's going to happen is the first thing the Germans think of is, well, let's just print more money. We print more money, we'll have more money to cover our needs, and we'll also be able to pay off those reparations. But what's going to occur is it's actually going to cause hyperinflation. So over here you have this chart from 4 years change in prices, from 170 to 87,000 million, billion, trillion, 87 trillion. equate that with a good. You go to the store in January 19 to buy a loaf of bread. It costs 50 cents. You go back 4 years later, same store, to buy a loaf of bread. It costs $700 million. What? All right. So you have to carry $700 million in baskets just to go get some bread. Yet that's not going to be an effective economy, and the economy of Germany is going to crash. So the question after the economy crashes is who's going to get us out of this mess? And there's really two different choices, because this is the democratic capitalist government that has ended in hyperinflation. You got two choices now: a dictatorship under the Nazi Party, or communism. And they are going to be fighting for control in the 1920s. There is a communist movement in Germany, but the Nazi Party is going to develop as basically the anti-communist. There's also an idea that a lot of Jewish people are also communists or connected to communism in some way. So the Nazi Party is going to be fighting against the communists, and this is where Hitler comes in as well. He's going to be a member of the anti-communist police force. But in the end, Germany has been so humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles, their economy has been destroyed. They've got to find a couple things. One, they've got to find somebody to save them. Whether it is going to be the Nazi Party, whether it's going to be communist, they've got to find somebody to save them. They've got to find a leader, and they've got to find a scapegoat. Why did World War I end like it did? It ends quite suddenly for the Germans. Right? When the Russians leave the war, it's happy days for the Germans. It looks like they're going to win this war, and then all of a sudden, bam, they're done. The war's over and they've lost. So they've got to figure out somebody to blame. And who they're really going to think about blaming is the Jewish people. The idea that they were the business owners who didn't contribute their part, they didn't get involved in the war effort as much, they didn't volunteer, even though 3% of the volunteers for the German army are going to be Jewish. So they've kind of done their part. They're going to be perceived as not. So let's move on to Hitler. Why Hitler? Now, there are going to be a lot of rumors about why Hitler, that he was secretly Jewish and all these things, or that his father was Jewish. These are actually emerging after World War II, and it's kind of anti-Semitic, saying that the only people evil enough to do this are the Jewish people. So we're not necessarily, we're going to give you the truth. We're going to not do that conjecture. There is kind of a reason why that rumor gets started. But Hitler's early life, he's going to be born on Brunau on the Inn River, which the Inn River divides Germany from Austria. So he's born on the Austrian side, but he's ethnically German. He sees himself as German, and really he sees Germany every day when he looks out his window. The Inn River isn't that wide, so it's essentially saying that you're sitting in this class, but if you look over that tree line across the road which carpool comes in, that's where Germany is at. So he's Austrian, he's born in Austria, but he sees himself as German, and he's not that far away from Germany anyway. A lot of Austrians see themselves as German. His father is not Jewish, but there's a popular myth that he is. He's a customs officer, very kind of harsh on Hitler, but he's going to die when Hitler was 13. The reason why this rumor gets started is that Hitler's mother is a housekeeper, and she keeps house for a Jewish doctor in the town. So the whole scandal is, was Hitler's mother having an affair with this Jewish doctor? Again, no evidence of it all. Although Hitler believes that Adolf was his son. So this is going to occur after the war, where they're trying to figure out why Hitler did what he did. Again, it's an anti-Semitic rumor. He's going to become an art student And these are actually some paintings by Hitler. It's weird to look at him because it does look like he has some skill. But he's going to try to go to art schools in Germany and Munich, in Berlin. He goes to France, tries to get an art school there in Vienna, and they tell him, hey, you don't have it. Right? You paint pretty pictures, but you don't have skill in like evoking emotions. But here's the thing, we don't think you're going to be a good artist, but if you take a look at all your paintings that are of buildings, you've got skill in drawing buildings. Be an architect. Don't be an artist. You'll never make money being an artist, but you'll be a very good architect. This isn't what Hitler wants to hear, so he is going to still try to make it in these places. He's going to go to Vienna. He's going to be homeless for a while. And while he's homeless in Vienna, he's going to start to read newspapers printed by people, and some of these newspapers are going to be anti-Semitic. There's also a belief in some historians that the idea for where the Holocaust comes about, the whole herding people into areas, and that comes from the way we treated the natives in the 1800s. The reason why they say that is it's rumored that Hitler played cowboys and Indians in the 1900s, but that's a weird game for somebody in Austria to play. But he is going to be a soldier. He's one of those that doesn't believe that the war has been lost. He's wounded in the Battle of the Somme. He's going to be temporarily blinded by mustard gas, and he's going to be captured for a while as a prisoner of war. He becomes bitter because he thinks that the Jewish bankers aren't pulling their weight of the war. After World War I, he's going to be an anti-communist policeman. Then he's going to join the Nazi Party and rise through its ranks. He's going to help lead a failed coup in Bavaria, in Munich. The local government there, he's going to try to lead a Nazi takeover of the government. They do all the planning in this big beer hall. Just think of, a huge bar. Oh, why is there sound coming out of my computer? I'll just close all those. Come on, close. But the big thing here is the joke is don't start planning a coup in a bar. It's not going to work out. They march out trying to go to City Hall and take it over, and they're going to be captured and imprisoned. He's going to be in prison for a year, but while he is in prison, he's going to write his autobiography, Mein Kampf, which is going to be the second most popular book in Europe during the 1920s and 30s, right behind the Bible. The Mein Kampf he says it's my struggle, this is my autobiography, this is my life, but it also goes into more political speeches. And the big thing here is he believes that the Jewish people are the problem for all, or the cause of all the problems for Germany. This is Hitler's rise to power. Essentially, he's going to become more powerful through elections. 1933, the Reichstag building, their Congress building, is destroyed by fire. It's probably done by the Nazis just to grab more power, but they're going to blame it on the communists. And then the next month, Hitler is going to become a dictator, because what happens is the Reichstag is going to give up all their power to Hitler and his cabinet for 4 years, and they'll never rein that power back in. The last thing I want to mention goes into why Germany. The German people are going to, once they start getting into this Nazism, you're going to have the Hitler Youth. Think of the Hitler Youth as Boy Scouts, but on top of that, they're going to listen to lectures of why the Jewish people are bad. Textbooks are going to change. Any Jewish teachers are kicked out of their jobs. Textbooks are going to change. Simple math problems are going to be like, you have 5 Jews, subtract 2, how many Jews do you have left? Yeah, very bad. But the last thing is the most popular board game in Germany at the time is called Juden Raus, or Jew Get Out, or Get Your Jew Out. And essentially you have a board that shows a town, and your playing piece is a Jewish person, and you have to get them out of town. So hopefully by taking a look at this, you have a better understanding of why the German people went along with Hitler when he starts the Holocaust.